Hey guys, this is the FPL Tips team and welcome back to another preview video. Hey, welcome Akhilesh. We're doing this after a very long time. The last time we did a live preview was game week 6 or 5. But how are you feeling? How is your game going so far?
Yeah. I mean, I also noticed that it's been a while since we've done a live stream, and yeah, it doesn't seem that long. We've done a few recordings in the middle,
Yeah,
but overall, it's been good. A couple of really good weeks for me personally. I think I've jumped quite a few ranks in the last couple of weeks, and one thing I can see from this season is that ranks are very volatile, and on one side it can also you can look at it in two ways. On one side you can look at, like, even if you have like a bad move, you can cover it up with quickly with a few good moves. And on the other side also is that I feel like the double game weeks might not play that much of a role as it is, and your team as it is has always has good players, and so you can easily again come catch up a few ranks in a few weeks every now and then. So these are things that I was made aware in having two good weeks back to back and climbing around 2.7, 2.8k, which is like I came all the way from 3.9, so sorry, million. I came all the way from 3.9 million to about 1.2 million in 2 weeks, which is quite great. And I hope it can keep going on, keep the good run going. Yeah, how's it been for you? Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so this is also something we were looking at a few weeks back, looking and that's the reason why there were a few wildcarders who had removed Haaland, few wildcarders who had removed Alvarez, is because of the mixture of fixtures coming from Game Week 12 on. So we are nearing the place where which people had looked forward to at this point, and that brings us to two main teams, which is City and Arsenal. But also we were looking at Villa and their good fixtures, and looking at how many of Haaland, Saka, Salah, Watkins, and Son we could have. That was how we were looking at the conversation, and then the Lego Money hop on hop off picture has helped us navigate through this. But anyways, the main thing now is that City have hit their top form. They were like top strike 4.5 xg against United. Maybe it's a one-off against United because they have been poor defensively, or maybe it's the start of something at City, and it follows up with Bournemouth. So people who had backed against Haaland would have probably looked at the Brighton and Bournemouth fixtures and maybe say that uh, these are fixtures I could hide behind the sofa and watch these games and captain Salah instead. But then the United fixture is where Haaland has turned it to make everyone captain in the Bournemouth fixture. So in the Bournemouth fixture, the elite ownership of Haaland is going to be like 170, 165, 170% at least. So that's where I think a lot of dilemma is, how people who have gone without Haaland, how do they continue, and people who still have Haaland and Alvarez going forward after the game week 11 fixture, what is the plan? So these are the things that come up with looking at the hop on hop of as Arsenal's fixture turn from game week 12 as well. And now that we've gone past the Sheffield United fixture. But Eze is not fit. Eze's fitness is. Yeah, there are certain big hitters who you'd like to have, and we this is a season where we have a lot of good players, and that's where we tend to you hop in and hop off good fixtures for good players who play in good teams, and that's the idea of this. And I think this season over all the other season is this is something that's really useful. I think there's the sound in your mic is not perfect. Can you just
Okay,
figure that out?
is this better now?
In the
Okay.
chat, is it better now?
Yep. Okay, yeah, it is.
Okay.
I think it is. Yeah, there was some issue. I think they're sorted. I was saying that this table, we'll dive deeper into the hop on and on off conversation. We'll dive deeper into that. This is Manchester City. This is probably a team that you want to target game week to 11 and 12, 11 specifically. And apart from Haaland, we have some certain things where Julian Alvarez is important. Some people already own him, so it's sort of a conversation where you sell him for Watkins or Darwin or not. And do we look at other players like Foden? There's Bernardo Silva on my list, and there's obviously Doku. Those are three players that you primarily look at. I don't maybe a defender if you want to, but here's the entire table. Do you make out like anything out of this table? Anything that you should really highlight? Because I don't see Foden's numbers to be elite at the moment. They are subpar if I had to say something about them, and I'm not really very confident of taking even a 1 week punt to remove like someone like a Saka or a Madison to get in Foden and then get them back. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like I feel the same. I don't think it's worth removing certain big hitters who we've been relying upon all season because they are clearly better FPL options, like you mentioned, like Saka or Son or Madison, or even when you go down to maybe a Mbumo or a Bitoma. But if there is some place where you can maybe tweak for one game week, then I think Foden is not a bad punch. But I don't see a lot of players who you could move away from Foden, away from to Foden this week, and it paying off in the long term. And I mean it's just one fixture again. If maybe if you're dead ending to this fixture and maybe having a wild card next fixture, then a 1 week punt of Foden does make sense a little bit. But their fixtures do turn, and we see that from the view of the fixtures. And in that sense, I don't see him being a punt for a long term after this. And those for those we've seen that Alvarez over the last few weeks has been closer to Haaland than Foden has been, and I expect him to continue to do that, especially against like the
Low
weaker
block,
sides.
the low block, the mid
I
blocks.
think
Yeah.
yeah, the low block sides where he is the one who gets the ball around the box, while Haaland is he doesn't get the ball as often as he does in the games where he has more space when there's a high line being played. When there's a low block, Alvarez almost always gets the ball around there. Takes his shots, and he also has that creative threat. So I think he still does become a much better option than Foden, and I probably expect him to outscore Foden in this game.
I think you're right, but it's for people who don't have Alvarez. So a lot of us have already moved out of Alvarez. I think we can address it this way. For people who have Alvarez, I think it's a hold. It's a firm hold. You can avoid Watkins probably for another game week. I think this is a prime fixture for Manchester City. Bournemouth are not really good either at keeping a mid or a low block, and defensively away from home they're bad numbers. But for someone who's having an Arsenal asset, maybe an Odegaard, a Martinelli or Saka, for a one game week punt to Foden is the question, because that's sort of the switch. Even Madison has Chelsea. Those two teams have tough fixtures coming up. This is prime fixture. Would you really make the move to Foden and back again, or maybe Bernardo or
I wouldn't
Adoko?
from Saka. From Saka, I wouldn't. And the player in question from City as a midfielder, first let's address that. I think only Foden, because Bernardo or Doku are not really options for me. Bernardo, he is a player who Pep utilizes based on the fixtures. So there are fixtures where you want more control for the low block, where he plays much deeper. While in games against United, or like where you need the uh, but where you're like there's a higher line, there's more space. I think he plays a little more advanced. That's what we saw, and he's someone Pep has played in like a bunch of multiple different roles. So I don't see I don't there's too much unpredictability around Bernardo Silva for him being an option for this, and also there's no explosiveness as such. And the other guy who's Doku is a minutes risk. Grealish started the previous game,
Yeah.
and you probably expect Grealish to start more games than not now from going on from now onwards. And again, I think it'll be depending on the team. Maybe because it's a low block, Doku could still play, but there is a minutes risk still over there. And Grealish is now back, and he looked really sharp against United. So I don't see why not he could also keep his place. So there's a lot of unpredictability in expected minutes in that sense. So I don't think Doku is an option as well. Coming to Foden, there are certain big hitters who we have discussed. I would include Saka, Son, and Madison in that list, who I don't think you could remove and justify that, because there's value associated also with probably Madison, who you would like to keep in the longer term. Um, if maybe you want to remove Madison to a Saka next week, but you think that the Saka and Madison have tricky fixtures for this week, and you can maybe do a Foden this week and then to a Saka next week.
That's
That
exactly the
that is
question.
probably that is probably, I think, doable, because I don't see too many other options. And if you have, but that comes to a specific scenario, right? Because all of us have a lot of transfers to still make. Maybe if your team has not too many transfers to make, then you can maybe take that luxury of making that transfer to a Foden and just attack the fixtures and be a bit aggressive. But I don't think every team has that scenario.
But that's sort of where I even digress. I don't think Foden is absolutely necessary. He's averaging less than like zero point 0.5 xGI per 90. He's averaging less shots than Madison. Saka is again a different sort of a question, because he's had no shots post game week 7. So again, you're looking at a player who's only scoring through penalties right now. He's got a couple of assists, but no shots like on target and stuff like that. So Saka becomes a different question to me. But Madison, I think, as a whole, despite being Chelsea are not defensively that great. I think Tottenham will try to attack them. Tottenham are league leaders at the moment. It's not City, it's Tottenham who's leading the league. So I think like putting that into perspective, and I don't really like how Foden is being used in recent games. He's been given sort of the creative role, because you can't expect that from Alvarez, and he's dropping a bit more deeper. He's carrying the ball more. He's not stationary in the box. That's where the City strikers benefit from, being stationary and receiving the ball to score. So again, I'm not really a fan of Foden for at least Madison. For Saka, again, I really don't like Saka at the moment, and that's why I'm really pro of going Saka to Foden. But that's a very personal view. I'm not sure if I would recommend that to everybody.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. I think if you are going to hold Madison on a longer term, which is fairly a good hold, I think Madison is a good hold for the longer term. But
It's just the Spurs asset altogether.
if you want to move Madison to a Saka, and if you want to bridge, and if you have that luxury of transfer, I wouldn't mind playing someone who plays a good fixture, Bournemouth fixture, or even going to an Mbumo who plays West Ham at home. So there are some appealing fixtures which you could target, or maybe even a Jota for a Luton game. So there are certain punt moves, and I think that can be appealing. But generally, I don't see punts in other, especially when you're not dead ending towards a wild card. So I'd probably just hold Madison, and you might want to hold him for the longer term as well. So I'd also not recommend it unless you have someone who you'd want to definitely move, and you want to move them to Saka, and then you have just a 1 week fixture which you could target.
You mentioned a couple of 1 week punts. I think we'll move out of the city. I think if we had to just conclude it, if at all, Foden is the punt that you look at. But that again is very
Yeah.
team specific. We're not really endorsing it that you should definitely punt on Foden. I don't think it's that scenario for City. Yes, they're getting back, but I don't think it's there yet. They might score 4-5 against Bournemouth, but we don't know for sure who will be involved. I think Alvarez is probably the better pick out of the better punt sort of out of the remaining players.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yep. Moving on in talking about punts, we have Liverpool who play Luton this game week, and obviously they're again a talking point. They're back. They're looking in form. They're looking good attacking wise. The data is not there, but they look good. So they pass the eye test for sure. And there are certainly 2-3 players which are worth talking about. There's Nunes, there's Jota, there's a lot of Slobosly as well. There's a lot of talking about him, how he's been playing, and like data around him. And there's not a lot of Diaz right now because there's some personal reasons. I don't know if he'll play or not, so we can keep him out of the conversation. But primarily Nunes and Jota. Do you see them as a punt for game week? I'll just put it this way: do you think anyone should punt on them for this game week? Because long term, yes, they look like good players. I wouldn't really put that. Nunes is
Yeah,
probably the
I
good
wouldn't.
player.
Probably Jota is probably a punt, but Nunez definitely is someone you could go with and stick with, and I think he probably does fall into the best three strikers in the game at the moment, along with Haaland and Watkins, because he plays in Liverpool and he's matching Salah with numbers, with big chances, with which he's created a lot big chances. Also. He has like 0.64 big chances created per game, and also 0.84 expected goals per game. And now he looks like the first choice, and he looks big, very high in confidence. The kind of goal he scored yesterday, and he looks like the first choice for more games than not. And he also has both goal and assist threat,
Yeah,
and he is involved in a lot of what's going well at Liverpool, and his shot conversion has gone up. I think it looks very promising at this moment, but there are certain games where Nunez would probably be risk of being benched, but that's something you should be okay with when you're going with someone like a Nunez. You probably have a fourth defender in the bench who you could play, especially maybe for the Man City away fixture where we've seen the pattern where Nunez this season has been benched ever since he scored the brace against Newcastle and came into the team. I think he's been benched either when he's not been completely 100% fit or when Liverpool are just have like the international break has just finished. He's had to travel, and Gakpo is obviously a very good replacement as well. So there will be times when Gakpo will probably play, but I think there are some good fixtures in this run where Nunez becomes a very good option, and there's very a high upside over there. That's why I'm looking at Nunez as well personally in my team, and looking at the kind of fixtures I could have him in my team and target certain defenses and get the reward from Darwin Nunez.
so I agree on this point, but the question then is, if for a two forward structure team, do you let go of Watkins for Nunes, or do you keep him, or do you want to switch for a three forward structure?
I wouldn't let go Watkins for Nunez because he's assured for me,
He
and
assured
he looks
minutes.
in a team. He looks in a team which has which has been in great form. So few weeks back we were looking at Watkins and maybe he gets a distribution of chances, but now he looks a different player. He looks like someone who's racking up all the chances, and he looks like the central Watkins of the latter part of last season again. So I think we were very unlucky to not get a return or two from Watkins for last weekend. So I think the returns will keep going with continuing with Watkins. There are a couple of difficult fixtures coming after this, and that's maybe where I could probably move Watkins to Nunez. Maybe when Nunez plays Fulham at home, I think in game week 14, that's also when Watkins plays Bournemouth. But at around that point where the fixtures turn for Nunez, then he plays Sheffield United, and there are fixtures that could be targeted for Nunez. And an away fixture, we'll get more information from Nottingham Forest away and Tottenham maybe on how Aston Villa approach that away fixture. Are they as I mean, they'll probably definitely not be at that level, but are they still good enough? As Watkins still good enough to give us the returns from the away fixture, and then maybe you can do the Watkins. But right now, I wouldn't advise because we have a Fulham at home money fixture coming up for Watkins, where I mean, whichever average defense, which goes away to Villa Park, gets completely smashed. And I think that could be Fulham's case as well, who I think have improved defensively a lot, but that's still a very good
Yeah.
fixture for Aston Villa from an attacking
My
point
only
of view.
my only reason to keep Watkins over Nunes is minutes, as far as I know right now, because they play City in 14, I think, Liverpool, and then 15, 16 are very congested, like in that 1 week period. I think it's 14, 15, 16, if I'm not wrong. So it's
Yeah,
very
14, 15, 16. Liverpool have Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Crystal Palace away.
yeah, and then they play City in 13, I think, somewhere like that.
13, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very congested. I don't know if Nunes will play the City game or not. That's also a question. Again, if he doesn't, then it sort of looks like he might start three in a row. But again, Liverpool are heavy on rotation because they have the sort of squad depth right now. I'm not confident that he'll play. Watkins, on the other hand, will most likely play all three games, if not at least 70 minutes. I think that's that. I'll take that over benching from Nunes, and then I'll figure out from there.
Yeah. So
Jota
I
says
think if
Foden.
you have if you have
Yeah,
an eight forward formation, I'd happily keep Nunez in my team,
I
because
mean,
I think with Nunez, I think you can calculatedly look at which fixtures he can probably be benched and not. While whereas like looking at other players like you have your Newcastle forwards when fit, or your City midfielders, you of the past, you might not know when they'll be rotated. But I think with Nunez, you can sense when the rotation does come, and you can calculate it, and you can bench him based on that. So I think if you have an eight
yeah,
attacker room, you can probably keep Nunez,
but
but again not for Watkins. But eventually you can add Nunez to that eight attacker
sort of, yeah,
formation,
that's without
but
Haaland,
not,
obviously.
yeah,
That's only
with or
possible
without.
without Haaland. Yeah, I don't think that's really viable
Yeah, you
because
should probably sacrifice
yeah,
either a Son or a Watkins, or a non-Haaland one, but still, that's where I see Darwin being a good option. But
there's
I think the rotation risk is still there, but you can see a lot of returns also coming along. So there's a risk worth taking, but also a reward that could come your way.
there's a question in the chat which I think answer itself. Salah plus Watkins or Nunes plus someone else like Saka or Bruno. I am firmly in the Salah plus Watkins camp. Both are guaranteed for minutes almost. Both, not Watkins. Salah is on pen, so that really swings it a bit. And Watkins on numbers almost as at par at Nunes. He's averaging that much quality right now. For XGI, Nunes is 0.89 per 90. Watkins is about zero point 0.8. So there's not much difference. That is why I prefer Salah plus Watkins. Do you have like a take on that? And then we'll move out from
At this
Liverpool.
point of the season, with the fixtures which are coming in front of us, I'd probably say Salah plus Watkins also. But because at this point Salah is just non-negotiable.
Yeah,
But
it's,
there will be a time of the season like earlier. I think Nunez plus someone else will also give you around 2 to 2.5 million more to upgrade other parts of your team. So that's why I probably would go elsewhere. But now firmly Salah plus Watkins, because Salah is just non-negotiable at.
which takes us to slightly on the same topic, but moving ahead on Arsenal, which is this news where Gabriel Jesus could be out till December at minimum. He's doing gym work, but again, it's sort of a vague timeline. But it definitely nails on Nketiah for the next 3 or 4 games. I think there is the international break after which we can expect Jesus. There's still time, but at least for the next 3 or 4, and which brings a lot of Arsenal into conversation. Not that they were not, but because Nketiah is now a prime sort of candidate to get into next game week.
Yeah, I
So
think this is
he's
a very
yeah.
interesting topic, because there are three things that come into mind. One is Jesus gonna be back early December or mid December? Are they gonna throw him back? Is there enough news around him? And if he comes early December, then what's the case? If he comes late December, then what's the case? So there's a lot of uncertainties around that, because there are two fixtures which come early December, which is December 2nd, Wolves at home, and December 5th, Luton away. These are two fixtures you'd probably want to keep Nketiah if you're going for an Nketiah. The second point I'm looking at is the transfer in and transfer out for Nketiah worth it. So if you probably want to bring in Nketiah now, are you not stuck with him? Or will that maybe allow you to bring in a Palmer as the eighth attacker, and can you switch Nketiah with him, or something, or a Gordon? Uh, uh, is that worth it? Is there a transfer where you could get stuck with Nketiah and might have to remove him maybe with a hit or something later?
Yeah.
And the third thing, which is not towards Nketiah but Saka and Havertz, or Saka and Martinelli, where is Nketiah just racking up all the chances, and does that mean Saka and Martinelli become less appealing options for the next 4 to 5 weeks when Jesus is out? These are three things that come into mind. What do you think?
So the transfer cost that you talked about, I think that's fine. I'm not really a huge advocate of not using transfers, because that's pretty much a template sort of a team that we have, and we don't have much places to use our transfers at. I think it's fair enough to use that transfer because he's racking up. Uh, he's racking up those chances. He's getting those numbers in. He's probably on the score sheet more often than the other players from Arsenal. I think if there is a good run of fixtures which comes up with Wolves and which starts with Wolves next game week, I think you should go for it. I'm not really anti that. I think those two transfers are worthwhile if they get you points. In comparison to Saka, the conversation comes down to penalties, because Saka has some sort of penalties. I'm not sure 100% because he gives away a lot of them, and Nketiah doesn't. I also feel that Nketiah at times will be rotated. He'll not play all of the games with the fixture congestion obviously going ahead. I think they'll try out Trossard in between in the easier games. He has done that in the past. So that's sort of the conversation I have. I think a double up is probably the way. I don't think it's a replacement to Saka or Martinelli, but sort of a double up if you want to double up on Arsenal.
Yeah, that's also another interesting point. Can Nketiah cover the likes of Saka, or maybe like he could cover Martinelli, but
yeah,
will he
maybe
cover the likes
Martinelli.
of
But again, then everything down, like in the last few games, every sort of a creativity or chance has come down through Martinelli's end. So do you
Yeah.
which
Through
sort
the
of a
left.
double up do you want is also interesting sort of view. I'm not
Or
sure.
is a single up, like if you can't do a double up, then is a single up worth it if it's not Saka?
Yeah, I'm
And
actually not pro Saka right now, and I don't want to sit on the fence for this. I am not pro Saka because of his numbers. He is overperforming to high extents because of his even his XA, his XG because of the pens. I don't think that's sustainable, and he's been pushed out as wide as possible right now. Every creative Arsenal are third largest creators of like chances through their right flank. I don't think that's sustainable. Eventually, he's playing very wide. It will go down, and unless he shifted to a more central sort of a role, I don't think his numbers and like output will improve.
interesting, because I currently like have been thinking around on when and how to bring Saka in, because in my team I don't have Saka right now, and I don't know whom to remove and how to bring Saka in, which is becoming an issue at the moment, and that's where I'm also seeing if Nketiah can be used. But I also have this feeling that as fixtures come and like form will come automatically for players like Saka, who's elite when it comes to FPL historically. So that's just something. Yeah, that's just something really like troubling, because there will be a haul which I could miss when it comes to Saka, and especially when it's a Burnley home fixture. And is Nketiah worth doing it? But yeah, I don't see the numbers right now as well. But I think there's just like a 3-4 game week period where in the middle he also missed a game due to his injury, and
Yeah.
is he again 100% back is another question. Yeah, there are few questions. I think the Newcastle game I hopefully does answer, and I don't see. So like, there's another question: would you transfer in an Arsenal player this week? I
No,
don't think so.
no, hands down not.
Even if it's
If you have someone, would I transfer him out this week? No. I mean depends. If you don't want him, obviously yes. But looking long term, if I want someone like a Saka for a long period of time, I would hold it. I wouldn't really pull the trigger, sell him. This sort of a
yeah,
one game
I
you
think
just
it's
keep him.
definitely don't buy, don't sell this week, because I don't see selling ahead of a Burnley
And
at home.
I would add like
So
don't buy, don't sell, don't expect this game week, because I don't see like anything happening from
yeah,
them.
that's
But
true.
yeah, just
That's true.
hold on. It's
You need
one
not.
of those
It's
game
probably
weeks.
unpredictable, but the Burnley at home fixture next week is just
Yeah,
too
the Burnley
juicy to
will
miss out on. So like the transfer out is not recommendable this week.
Yeah, I think that
Anything else in
it's sort
Barcelona?
of a gray area. On Nketiah, I don't really want to sit on the fence. I think if next game week you get a chance to buy Nketiah, if in the press conference there is any sort of hint that is dropped by Arteta or by the press or somehow you get news, I think it's worth the move to double up because the fixtures in the next three are too good to ignore. And Nketiah is sort of that price point right now, 5.6, where you can afford to lose him on the bench. If you don't have, if you have decent money, you can afford to lose him. I think if with Haaland and let's say Salah as well, I think if not Saka, Martinelli plus Nketiah is easily affordable. I don't think you need to have to change your structure a lot as well. So that's something you need to think about. I think this game week will tell you more. But yeah, that's where I am at the moment with the Arsenal team.
Right.
Yep. That's
Yeah, anything else to add on Arsenal? Maybe a Gabriel who's been benched again when people jump onto him, which is quite funny from this season. But I don't think this is the same as what it was in the first three games, right? Because I don't think there was it was like for like reason. There was no
I think
big
Arteta
structural
mentioned
changes.
that he did it for like minutes reason. So I don't know. I'm just hopeful. I have Gabriel. I went with the shot for a clean sheet. It did not work out. In fact, I even had
Yeah,
Saka and it did not work out. So
but the strange thing is Saliba has just been playing every minute since he's
yeah,
been on. And last season Saliba was the injury issue which made Arsenal have a huge drop off from their form. So it's quite strange how Saliba has not missed out any minutes and Gabriel has. And I think Saliba did miss out in the midweek fixture in the Carabao Cup, but still, I still think he's been playing a lot of minutes and yeah, I don't know. Maybe a Saliba benching is coming
I
in the horizon.
I don't think so. He's very key as far as I know. I don't think they'll bench them. And even he did not play
I
midweek,
mean,
so that's his benching essentially.
yeah, probably.
So I will
Probably
address
that. But
like
I
the
think Gabriel will be back. So holding Gabriel is also
yeah.
something you should do and not jump off.
There's more
Gabriel
defenders that we need to go into, but like let's finish the topic around the midfielder since we touched upon it a bit. I think there is a lot of questions coming in the chat as well in terms of netto replacements, and here are some like prime replacements that we have, which is Diaby,
If you have the
Mitoma,
money.
Mbeumo, Bowen. These are like four. I put Bowen. Ideally, Bowen was slightly more expensive, but he's sort of in the mix if you have the money. And I've excluded Palmer and Gordon because they're much cheaper, and then they fall into a different bracket. But these are like the four players most people are considering. Bowen again, I've just had it there for perspective in comparison to the other three if you can afford. But let's touch upon Diaby, Mitoma, and Mbeumo. Who are you looking at right now, and who should you probably hold for a longer period of time?
For a long term, if you want to set and forget for that place, even if this is the fixtures, I think hands down Mbeumo is the best option out of the three. His numbers are the best. He plays 90 minutes. He gets 90 plus 5, 90 plus 6 goals to get a haul. And he's also on penalties. He's a talisman for his team. And they are a good team who can also tackle the difficult fixtures similar to West Ham, I think, from looking at Bowen, where Mbeumo could probably get a return. It's not like it's the worst fixture where they're just gonna not get any chance. And he looks like the best attacker from this in isolation. But I think the fixture play does point towards Diaby and Mitoma for the short term. I think Mitoma probably did have the blank against Fulham, but I think Brighton are still good enough to count on Mitoma for the next three fixtures because they are very good fixtures. And same with Diaby also. I think he did well last week, and he has a couple of good fixtures. Nottingham Forest away and Fulham at home coming up. And so yeah, basically short term, I think it's Mitoma first, then Diaby, and long term hold for a good period of time. I think it's Mbeumo.
I'm not sure on it. I think Mbeumo is sort of a perceived notion right now because of his recent haul. If you remove like the one of the hauls apart from after Burnley, everyone was very set to sell him. I think everyone was sure to sell him, but people sold him. Then he got a haul at Chelsea again. I think it's very down to what the keeper mistake was. But if you look at the formation change, I think that's more important to put into perspective. They are going to face easier teams where they will play Mbeumo wide, and is not that very effective at wide when he does that. I'm not very sure on him. I think it's only because of the recent haul that he got against Chelsea. If that was not the case, I don't think it would have been like a discussion point right now.
Yeah, but I think against Chelsea, he also had a couple of he created another big chance which should have been put away, and he also had a big chance before that lucky break through towards the end. So I think he either way should have hauled, if not for that. And but I do get it. I do get there's a certain recency bias when it comes to Mbumo, because
Yeah.
slightly because before that I think he had a Nottingham Forest away or a United away, Everton game where if Brentford don't click, then Mbumo just doesn't like becomes non-existent in certain games. But I think overall, when it just comes to comparison with the 6.5 options, I think he still stands out as the best because he also has the penalties and the set pieces and the 90 minutes in him. There's no risk in
Yeah,
rotation.
there's no
He's a
there's
talisman for the
yeah.
team. And we have a congestion of fixtures coming up as well, where there are good fixtures. Again, Luton at home, and then I think they have Sheffield United away. There are certain fixtures that you probably would jump into him, and there's an obvious reason to jump into Mbumo. And yeah, it's a congested period where you're dead certain that Mbumo will be starting each of these games. While with a Mitoma, there's probably a risk.
No, there's sort of a question in the chat where should I take out Mbomo for Bowen? I'm pretty pro on that. I think Bowen is still very much important. Like he's sort of more talismanic to West Ham in terms of goal involvement. Mbomo again against the easier teams when you want to haul him will play wider. So that's sort of a problem I have with him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Bowen has the better fixtures, and I think they're very similar players who
Yeah,
haul against like the more difficult sides and are probably not. I think Bowen can easily do well against the good sides as well.
yeah,
But it's the way the teams play. I think West Ham are much better when they don't have the ball, and Bowen is a lethal player when they don't have the ball, when they are playing that counter game. And that's why he's had I think 6 out of 7 goals or something away from home this season, where they are sitting back and then everything goes through Bowen. And in these games, I think Bowen is pretty good, and I think they're playing Brentford away this week, where you probably expect Brentford to have little more of the ball, even though they like both are similar teams who want to play on the counter, and that's where Bowen becomes quite lethal. So there are fixtures that Bowen could come up as a good option and a better option than Mbumo for probably. Uh, but there is that easy fixture thing also. Like he missed out against Everton last week, where I don't think I think maybe there could be a problem with getting attacking returns from Bowen. But I still say yeah, taking out Mbumo for Bowen for this week might be a good move, might pay off. But I still think West Ham at home
I wouldn't do it this
uh,
week
is
because
yeah,
Brentford
it's
just
not
don't
where
keep
you
the ball
probably
either.
want.
It's sort of playing in like Brentford's hand more than West Ham's because West Ham don't want to keep the ball and Brentford don't want that either. So and Brentford are
Yeah,
pretty much
it's
better
too
in
much
that
of an
state.
unpredictable fixture over
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
And it could pay off. It could definitely pay off because of the reason that West Ham away from home, Bowen away from home scores goals. But yeah,
I do.
I still not remove the player I have ahead of a good fixture for him. Maybe after this week, I probably remove
Yeah.
uh, for the games. I think
Okay,
because Mbumo has Liverpool away and Arsenal at home coming up.
yeah. But just upon the Neto replacement, if you don't have money for these, there are obviously there's I think my eyes are set on Palmer for a replacement. Gordon is there, but again there will be rotation. I'm not set on him playing all the games, and there are tough issues coming up. Let's address that. But I think Palmer is the guy to go for a Neto replacement if you can't afford these players, obviously.
Yeah, I think they were little bit tired, Newcastle in the last few games, and let's see how Gordon continues. I'm both of them at this moment. I'd probably go for Palmer because he looked really good in the last 2 games, and he's 0.7 million cheaper. But I personally, I am looking at them from game week 15, game week 16, where both of them have good fixtures,
Yeah.
and that's a debate I think maybe worth to have at that point and see who whether you need that 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 more and go for Palmer, because I think Palmer is like equally good. I think he's been very central. He's on penalties, and he's probably gonna be playing a lot of minutes for
The
Chelsea this
pen,
week.
I think it's the pens that matter more. But when you look in isolation from open play, I think Gordon is way ahead. He's more direct. He's there, more involved. I think Palmer
He is,
is a
yeah.
huge creator, but again, he's creating for people who are not scoring. So it really doesn't matter at Chelsea at this point. And that's how I would sum it up. I started to own him. I got him last game week, but I'm not really I'm not looking forward to the next 4 or 5 because of the awful finishing that Chelsea have at the moment. But we'll just move ahead with the defenders. There's a lot of questions on defense. I think you can address that.
Just
Just
before that, I just think we can just touch upon any other budget midfielders.
yeah,
Wang,
just
Douglas
carry on
Luiz.
the conversation. I'll get there's someone knocking. Just keep on. There's a
Yeah,
budget.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the other options there's Kwang and there's Douglas Luiz. But I don't think we'd suggest them as much because because one with Douglas Luiz he plays much deeper, and I guess I get it that he's been quite good in the last few weeks, but I don't see that happening in the long term because he plays deeper and penalties or like very low XG goals are his way to getting points. So that's where yeah I'd also yeah that Adingra was the one I missed out of this. But yeah, finishing on Douglas Luiz, I don't think Douglas Luiz probably is an option. And Huang, I think his attacking potency gets a little bit low. That Neto's not there because Neto has been creating a lot of chances for Huang. And again, he's been overperforming a lot this season, so I'd probably stay away from Huang as well. Adingra, I think, is the most appealing of the other options for a short term. Again, maybe there's a rotation risk for Adingra, but for the next 3 weeks, I think he could be a decent shout because of the fixtures and because he's been playing a lot of minutes for Brighton for now. But expecting De Zerbi to maybe play the roulette and maybe have a rotation here and there as well. But out of the other options, Douglas Luiz, Huang, and Adingra, I'd probably say Adingra is the best, and then maybe Huang, then Douglas Luiz.
So I went in depth into this sort of range of 5 to 5.5 last time to buy someone. I had to buy. I think I was the only reason I dropped Adingra from like my watch list was one because of the roulette. You don't know what De Zerbi will play and who will play in that position. It's very likely he does play Adingra. He likes him, but I'm not very confident. Plus, his number of shots and chances created were not that high. Despite playing enough minutes in comparison to the other Brighton players, his numbers in terms of creativity and like big chances were very low. So you'll get a player who's nailed on minutes, but again, he's not very extremely involved in terms of attack, and that is why I don't really like hop on to Adingra and avoided him. Maybe something to consider. You can consider Douglas Luiz again. I heard that part where you said Douglas Luiz will just goes on like small XG goes, and I agree on it. I think that's not something you can rely on really. He does have that penalty touch to it, but I'm not sure if you should jump on him and like double and triple up on Aston Villa.
It's like the Jorginho pick a couple of seasons back.
Yeah.
Where like he was just available at a very cheap price, and he was just on penalties, and Chelsea were getting a penalty after penalty where like he just kept scoring them, but doesn't look like an option who you could rely on in your FPL team.
Yeah, I agree. And with also Huang, without Neto, I don't know the creativity and the formation change that comes into question. Yeah. Even if you want him, I would wait for another week, I think.
Yeah, and like where the chances come from. Now
yeah,
that Neto's
exactly.
Not there.
Yeah. I think that touches. Again, in that bracket, I think still Palmer then Gordon for me. I think. What is your top two?
At this moment, I'd say the same.
Yeah. So because of the fixtures, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We come back to defensive again. Gabriel, we touched upon Gabriel. We think he's a hold, but there's a sort of Udogi which is not that fit. There's sort of even in the press conference, Ange was very like dicey about him. He's processing things. Maybe he'll be fitted for Monday, maybe not. So we might want to look at replacements and also in general data for like big chances in terms of which teams are defensively bad to target. That's sorted it by worst defensive teams.
Yeah, especially for the ones who didn't wildcard last week and wildcard a little earlier, who had the Newcastle defenders.
And Newcastle defenders as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I think as we mentioned earlier, Gabriel is definitely a hold because Arsenal's defensive data also has been elite in the last few games. They've probably gone from like being the third best towards the earlier part of the season to the best defense in the league in the over the last 5-6 games. And that's a great leap. That's a big leap. They played Man City in that time. They played Chelsea in that time, and I think that's a very significant thing when it comes. And they have the fixtures now, and I think there are certain bank on clean sheet fixtures coming up, and holding Gabriel is the way for now at least. Then coming to the Newcastle defenders, it's a tricky one because I myself have two of them, and it's not Trippier. So I'm looking to ship out one of the Newcastle defenders this week and keeping the other as a rotation. But Trippier is an interesting topic over here because most of us have Trippier. But that also means that we are compromising on our other big hitters on
It's
the
basically
forward line.
the question is, would with those tough fixtures, would you keep Trippier and hope for a clean
Ahead
sheet or
of
an attack ahead instead of an attacker, maybe sort of an Enketia, Mope, or maybe like a Ferguson, because that's the slot you have. That's like the eighth attacking slot. That's like the funds you require. I'm very pro of
It's
keeping.
not just that. I think if you have, it's very difficult to have a team with Trippier, Son, Saka, Salah,
Yeah, again,
Watkins,
the funds.
Haaland.
It's
So
essentially
if
funds.
yeah, exactly. If you want to have a Saka now, then I'd probably have to downgrade Trippier to a
Yeah.
4.5, or like probably a Shimikas or a Gabriel to fund that move from maybe a 6.5 Mbumo to a Saka or something. So that really makes a difference at this point of the season because the fixtures do turn. Even though we've been having issues with Saka's data, but the fixtures really do say that Saka probably outscores Trippier over this period, and the combination also does.
I'm not very pro on that take. I'm not sure if it does, but I'm pretty sure that some other striker or someone
Come
else
on, the
definitely
fixtures are
does.
just yeah,
I'm just too
that's there.
anti
But
Saka at the moment. So fair enough. If I and he did not perform enough for me, so fair enough. I take that dig, but I think most players are very likely to outperform Trippier in that price bracket, or even from the upgrades you'll get. I think there is a fair case to sell him out right now for the next 6-7 games and then get him back after 16 when the fixtures sort of turn around.
yeah,
And let's address more replacements. I think most of these players are sell. I think there's one team that I want to touch upon in terms of what you think if it's a sell or not, which is the Aston Villa defenders. Moreno is back, so that's sort of a conversation that we need to have because we have Cash. I have Dini as well. Definitely Dini is a
yeah.
sell. Cash is also, he's sort of getting into positions, but the outputs and outlets are getting down. There's no clean sheet potential there. I see. They're always conceding goals. They're bad on defensive data. The attacking output is going low. So, are you very pro on getting someone like replacing someone like a Cash eventually, or wait for the next 2-3 game weeks and then look at it?
So the one thing you can see from defense over here, I don't see any upside. There's no like a fullback who's been getting a lot of points like Estupiñán did earlier, or like Trent
But
and Chilwell
Estupinian is
have done
back.
historically.
Just saying.
Estupiñán is back, but Brighton are not keeping clean sheets
Yeah.
anymore. So it's not even like yeah, I think Estupiñán probably is not a bad shout, but there's still not enough upside among all the defenders right now. So I don't see forcing the defenders out. I mean I personally have a defense of currently of Cher, Botman, Dean, and Udogi, where all of them look like cells at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's not definite buys who have the upside that makes me force the move. I can still hold Dean until I'm sure that Alex Moreno is surely coming back into the side and starting games, and Dean is directly dropped. Because from what we saw, Alex Moreno did come from injury earlier, and then had a setback again. So there are certain elements, and same with Share, right? I mean, I'm totally happy holding Share in the long term because Newcastle defense are still a great defense, and they probably will be keeping a little more clean sheets than you'd probably expect. So again, it's the upside that I don't see there clearly in a lot of defenders, other than maybe an Arsenal defender who will be keeping a lot of clean sheets, and Shimikas at this point
Simicast,
because
yeah, that's
Liverpool
it.
have the fixtures. Other than this, I don't see an upside anywhere, so I don't see forcing these moves to bring it. And I think Udogi over the period would probably come back and become a good option as well.
No, I agree with you because I don't see a lot of like replacements apart from Simicast. I think Simicast is the only player I'm looking at as a replacement right now. The others are like not so convincing, so I'm not really convinced by any other defender to buy at the moment.
Yeah.
There is a huge list of sell. I think Gabriel is a hold. Udogi, if you have these players, Udogi, Botman, probably even Scar if you want to downgrade. I think Simicast is a good move sideways. I think there's no harm in doing that move and making that move. It's a pretty decent move to have, and like Liverpool look good at the moment. Simicast could hold. There could be an odd benching for him eventually, but that's okay because that's going to be happening for every player for every team right
Yeah,
now.
but as we discussed a week or two back, in the games where Liverpool want the control, I think Tsimikas has to play. Like against low blocks, you
Yeah,
need that left-sided fullback, and you can't play Gomez over there. Gomez is probably, if there is a
I
pacey left winger who needs to be tackled, who Liverpool need to ensure that the chance creation is not too high from that side.
I
And that's when Shimikas is probably going to be compromised. But I don't think he's going to be compromised other than that.
I don't think that Simikas is in general rotation risk. He's pretty good defensively as well. He's always been the first choice replacement for Robertson, and he's not sort of a new boy that has come into Liverpool. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
He
even
knows
against
how it
like
is.
the pacey wingers, I think he'll play. I don't think I think Liverpool trust him enough. I think Klopp trusts him enough, and I think he'll play.
Yeah, we've also not seen Tsimikas not play so far. Like
Yeah,
not start
exactly.
Premier League games when Robertson is out, so we don't know. But with the repeated like crunch of fixtures, and this is also the first time where Robertson has been out for a prolonged period. It's always been a few rotation games where Robertson is out and Tsimikas comes in and plays in the midweek fixtures or in like one-off fixtures. But a prolonged 3 to 4 months where Robertson is not out and Tsimikas being the first choice left back at that point is currently hasn't happened since Tsimikas came to the club. So that's interesting to see when there probably could be a benching in the Premier League, but I see him start most of the games where Liverpool need control still because he offers that creativity going up front.
Yep, I agree. I think that I think only Simikas. I think Guehi is another player that people are looking at as a replacement. You
Yeah.
can probably go there, but I think first choice is still Simikas for me. I wouldn't
I think
really.
you can go back to the hop on hop off. That's where I think an
Yep.
interesting thing with respect to defenders when you pointed out the Crystal Palace and Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think that the Gehi now and maybe then going for a Colville
Oh, James.
or
James
if,
is
if
back. I don't think Colwell
any
will
of
start.
the
Whoever's
I,
fit on the right side. Whoever's fit.
whoever fit out of the Chelsea defenders at that point could be good options because that's a great run of fixtures.
Yeah, I think they
And they
should still
also
have a
cover
good
the
run of
game
fixtures.
blank
Yeah.
game week 18 or so. So that's a good hop on hop off for defenders if you have a Gehi now, if you go jump on a Gehi now. And Gehi, like you have a Luton away when Tsimikas plays Man City away in game week 13. And you can play him and an Everton home fixture or a Bournemouth home fixture if you need to bench any of the other players. So and then hopping off to Colville or whoever plays for Chelsea at that point could be a decent option when it
Yeah.
comes to that because until game week 24, Chelsea have good fixtures other than a single game.
I agree. Although I would slightly like to rewire people's thought process towards Everton. They are attacking really well. I don't really see them as a team who are bad at attack anymore.
That's true.
So
That's
yeah,
true.
I don't see like a clean sheet,
Yeah,
clean sheet there. But
Everton have
again,
become much better. They're becoming a
clinical and
proper.
attacking wise, yeah. But
Yeah,
DCL back, I think they're much better than
DCL is
like.
back, and DCL could become an option sooner rather than
I
later
mean,
before we know. But
that's a
we
long
talk about
shot.
it later. I don't think I'm
Yeah,
jumping too little bit ahead of myself. But I think there are good signs at Everton, and if
yeah.
DCL manages to be fit, he could become a pretty good enabler as well.
He's not at the enabler price. That's the problem. I think. I
I mean,
think he's
what
around
is his price
7.
right now?
I think it's
No,
7.
he was 6 million. He started at 6 million. I
Oh,
think he's
then
gone down.
okay, yeah. Then that would be last year's price. Sorry,
Yeah,
never looked
probably
at
stands in
DCL.
the.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think any of us looked at DCL, but
I'm also
let's see
checking DCL right
if
now,
he
which is
five point
Everton.
eight.
Oh, then yeah, there is a sort of a conversation later
Yeah,
on to happen. But we'll move on to our bus teams right now, which is first. This is I think my team. I have Areola, Cash, Gabriel, Dinier, double Aston Villa defense, which got like wiped out last time. Son, Bowen, Salah, Palmer, Saka. I have Watkins, Haaland. I'm not really worried about Palmer or Son. I think it's going to be high scoring fixture. I think both could be on the score sheet. Bowen is there, Salah, Saka, and Watkins, Haaland. Yes, there is a huge temptation in me which says that I should go Saka to Foden, and there are two primary reasons. I want to target the City fixture because of the rank chase and sort of a rank I am in. Second is I am very pro of selling Haaland next game week. Despite his alls, I am very pro again. So maybe could be the wrong time, but then the other argument is that if City are going to play so good and City are sort of back in form, why not keep Foden? Because I'm anyways not pro Saka. I can afford Nketiah with the difference of money. So it's sort of a
I still don't see selling the point of selling Sasaka ahead of a Burnley
yeah. I know.
game. Like
I don't
if
see
you
the
have
point
plans to get him
myself either.
back next week, then I'd probably be okay with it. But yeah, I just
So
think however you I think took a hit last week to
yeah,
bring
I took
Saka
a
in,
hit,
right?
and it should have paid off. When if I look at it
It
in
should have. Then
perspective, I took the hit to get
again
Saka.
it's the money fixture next week.
Yeah, I
So
took
I
Saka
don't
to
see.
captain him. I captained him instead of a Salah or a Haaland, and he did. He should have delivered. Arsenal delivered. So the thought process and the data and every sort of the step of the decision was backed up by the result, but not in favor for me. So
Yeah.
same with Gabriel. It was a clean sheet. It would have been an easy fixture for him, but he did not play at all. Again, hoping for a probably
Yeah,
turnaround.
that's a
That's just
little
it's
bit
just part
unlucky.
of the
But going
process. I can't
forward,
really do much
yeah,
about it.
going forward, I don't see having a thing against Saka for the Burnley fixture just because of this happening. Like it could pay, or like it could bite you back because
Yeah, so I am not against
it's
selling
a big
Saka,
fixture.
but now that I think about it, if I sell Saka and let's say for a Foden for a 1 game week punt, it allows me to get Nketiah next game week, which is probably more essential in key to Arsenal's attack. If I
Then I
want to just
probably think that
neglect
could be a
the
good option.
Saka terror, I could always go Martinelli for Foden next game week as well, or maybe later on. So what is a more viable thing? Do I double up of then and remove Saka? Is that more viable? It does that get me more points?
Hmm.
Plus Foden for Bournemouth. The other thing is I can probably hold Foden for a longer period of time. If City are striking back as a very strong team like they do in December, he's probably nailed because there's no replacement. I think he'll get benched eventually, but that's pretty much every City player. But I can hold them, and I don't have to really worry about it. The
Yeah, I don't
origin,
disagree with the thought
yeah.
process. I think it's a fair enough thought process. But yeah, I
Is
mean
it
I'd say
practical
wait
enough?
till.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but I'd say don't go against Saka too easily.
Yeah, I
Even if
agree. I
it
agree.
means that you probably want to downgrade to Foden and back to Saka next week, I still don't hate that move, but yeah, I'd say like don't go against Saka so easily as well
The,
because
the original plan
Saka
was
is
to
gone.
go Saka to Foden and then next giving go Haaland plus Palmer to a Saka plus striker sort of a situation. But again, I'm
Hmm.
reassessing things. I might not do any move at all, but just putting out my thoughts where I am at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll have your team up, which is this. This is your team. I'll just read it out. I think it's easier. Flecken in goal. This card Dine Udogi, who's sort of yellow flagged. Salah, Son, Embuemo, Diaby, Haaland, Watkins, and Alvarez. That's up top three. That's a good team at the moment, I think, with all the essential
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have Saka at the moment, and I've been wanting to bring in Saka, even if his data is like not there. But I'm not. So there have been a few things I've just been all around the place thinking about this team. But I probably the move I would be making this week is removing one of the Newcastle defenders for Simicast, and that I'm not sure if it's Share or Botman
I
for
think
now because I think if I remove Botman now, I just have four defenders rotating and I need not address my defense soon
yeah.
enough, which could change, which could definitely change. But if I do remove Share now, then it gives me enough to do Alvarez and Embumo to Enkitia and Saka for a -4 next week, and then maybe bring an Embumo back for a Diaby when Embumo's fixtures turn good. And that's again something I'm debating. If that is without Haaland, I can uh,
a
still
decent
have the
team.
list of Saka, Son, and Watkins, Haaland, and yeah, and Salah without removing Haaland. And I've also been open thinking about whether I should remove Haaland or not. And yeah, but the thing which I saw last week that Alvarez in bigger games is not someone who's
Yeah.
able to cover Haaland is making me think that I probably should just hold Haaland. And also Nketiah emerging as an option. So if Nketiah does emerge as an option, I don't think going out of the way to remove Haaland is necessary. So these are things I'm thinking around, and the Botman setback probably just put me off. Otherwise, I would have just been open to doing Share uh, to
I
Shimikas.
think
But
I think
yeah,
share might even drop in price in the near future. I think there's a sort of red flag around it in terms of price drop. So you might want to take the
hmm.
decision soon. That's all. But I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the
I'd
plan where Scar
probably
is down and Kite Saka come in because it's a really strong team. Keeping Haaland in your team, I think, despite how much we converse, he will keep on scoring eventually. This is the December period where City are probably the best team in Europe, and I think we will have to take that into consideration. Getting him back will be tough eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. But the nice thing is I probably can rely on Charlie Taylor whenever to score a
Yeah,
bad goal. Just hit
he got
some
a
of
clean
the
sheet
bench.
last time as well.
He scored a banger. He didn't get a clean sheet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, 6-pointer. Yeah. Sorry.
But I got a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think again depends on Udogi's fitness as well. And if not, I probably have to play Taylor this week, which is again something I'm looking at whether should I remove Share or not. But that's where I am right at the moment. I think Simicast is probably coming, whether it's for Share or Botman. Depends on a few things around before the deadline, and also maybe a price change.
I think that is it. We'll just address a couple
Want
of
to touch
questions.
upon captaincy?
I think it's straightforward. If you have him,
Pretty straightforward. If you don't have Haaland, you probably captain Salah. If you have
yeah.
Haaland, you captain Haaland.
I think there's no differential scope right here. I'll just have 3-4 questions that we have in the chat. Neto and Udogi replacements, I think we discussed in depth. There's 2 team questions that we have from Aditya, which is he says that his team is Turner, Areola, Cash, Poro, Mitchell, Gabriel, Burn, Neto, Diaby, Madison, Salah, Son, Alvarez, Haaland, and Archer. 0.4 budget, 2 free transfers. I think I would suggest Neto out, and I would hold. Saka probably next game week. Again, you address it with other players. You downgrade Alvarez to Nketiah. That is one move next game week, and then you see how much cash you have to do either Madison to Saka if possible or not. That's what I would suggest to him.
Yeah, probably. I think Neto probably to a Palmer. Then you could have you could either do an Alvarez to an Nketiah or a Madison to Saka or both.
Yeah, you can do both. I think you can afford both. I don't think he can afford. I don't think he can afford without like the.
No, if you do a Neto to a Palmer this week, I think you can definitely afford Madison to a Saka.
Okay.
But again, if it comes to that week, whether you want to remove one or both.
Yeah, fair enough. We discussed the Bowen move. There's Vinay's question, which is his wildcard team. There's a wildcard draft that he's made. Johnston, Walker, Simicast, Cash, Salah, Son, Huang. I wouldn't do that. Not Huang. Mbuemo, Watkins, Haaland, and Nketiah. Sub is Steele, White, Anderson, Sar. Should I just change something in my
yeah. I think goalkeepers, first of all, I'd probably just go with Areola and Strakosha, because it's just like keeping the budget and just play Areola. I mean, I can we can see that West Ham are not a great defense, but we are not seeing those 10-pointers, 12-pointers from keepers this year so often. It's just because there have not been enough clean sheets that's been kept by the defenses as well. So there's no definite defensive team. Johnston is a good option for the next few weeks, but I'd still just if you want to keep the money, just go with that. Defense, which is Shimikas, Cash, Walker,
I think,
and White. I think is a bit expensive. You could maybe
Anderson.
do a White to a Gabriel. Anderson, I think is a little expensive. If you don't have a value already on him, you could do Anderson to a Gehi maybe. If you want to free up cash somewhere. And I think an Arsenal defender it's better to have a Gabriel. I think he'd probably still start. Midfield, I probably remove Huang. I don't know for who, but first find a way. Maybe have a Diaby or even like Mitoma, I guess. And front three is good. Front three is good. Great front three.
I think apart from that, anything that can that we can change in terms of that team, I don't think I would change much apart. Again, maybe, but I can't say because City keep clean sheets. They're like the best sort of defense in the league, especially away from home. So I'm not very. I don't want to suggest that ahead of me because they might continue to keep clean sheets. So
but the thing I think is there's like a lot of money that's been spread around the defense. So
maybe consolidate the defense. I don't think that five defender defense is needed. I think you can downgrade one to Taylor at least. Take out some money out of the defense.
Yeah. And that could help you to a Neto to or Juan to
maybe Mitoma. Sort of that 6.5 million bracket where this is Mitoma, Diaby, so that range. And Aditya Jairam again, he's saying that he wants Gabriel out for a cheaper defender or maybe Bowen out. I think you can do, but I think Neto out is probably a priority, and you can't really get Bowen or I wouldn't recommend Mbuemo or Bowen this game week to buy. I don't think they're buys this game week. Mitoma, probably avoid him overall for now, for a while, because of the rotation. I think Brighton, there is sort of huge dip in their form, and I wouldn't really. I would like to see them perform and get back at those levels. I think I'll wait for Estupinian. There's a lot of players playing out of position as well right now, so that's where I am
No,
on
but
with
I actually think I like that move. Because if you if you
Mitoma.
if you think Burns fixtures no if you think Burns fixtures are difficult, you have two transfers. I'd probably downgrade Burn to an enabler
So
and then increase Neto to probably a Mitoma. I
the
think
only reason
I
I'm
don't see.
recommending one transfer is because I expect Gabriel to play. Second, it allows him to do
Yeah, I
Saka
wouldn't
plus
remove
Nketiah
Gabriel,
for
but
free.
removing Burn.
But it allows him to do Saka and Nketiah for free next game week. So I'm not looking just this game week and use the free transfers, but save one and use them for a very explosive sort of Arsenal fixture. What with
Yeah, but you'd have Mitoma also alongside of instead of a Palmer, and
yeah,
that
so
probably covers for
but
the minus
it's
score.
it's sort of a hit sort of scenario. But Aditya, you'll have, if you're open to a hit, then make the two moves this game week. Then you'll have Mitoma obviously
Yeah,
in that slot. Otherwise, you'll have to. I would rather prioritize that sort of a
fair enough.
second double move. Yeah.
I don't like I don't I think it's a good enough move. But if you want to be a little more aggressive, I don't hate this move.
Yeah,
I think
I don't think -4
you
is
could
bad in
expect a
this.
Mitoma.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not the worst -4 you will take of your life, and you might just restrict yourself to just Alvarez, and then that would be fine either. So maybe make the double move, and then you can reassess next game week.
yeah.
On that note, we'll just I think wrap it up. It was like genuinely long stream. I think it's about an hour, if not less. But we've covered a lot of topics. I think if we go through, if people who've missed it out, you can go through it. There's a lot of discussion that has happened in depth in terms of Liverpool, City, Arsenal, and a bit of Spurs assets as well. So you can touch upon these topics, and then we will be back with sort of an early deadline stream if there is any. If not late, we both most likely will be back for that stream. So we'll see you guys there. Any last minute thoughts, Akhilesh?
Captain Haaland and just play it
Yeah,
safe this
again,
week. And yeah,
don't really.
basically.
Triple captain, just want to touch upon before I say bye.
I'm never a fan of single week triple captain, but yeah, it could be the money fixture. Uh, but yeah, I'd still say hold. And we also had that the prediction from Ben Krillin come out that there could be a Burnley at home and a Luton at home.
Luton and Burnley for Salah. I think that's
Yeah,
there.
for Salah sometime in game week 24 or 25. It's a possibility. So that could be a time where you have the best two fixtures on paper to captain one of the best options in FPL, and maybe there's a good chance for captaining Haaland in game week, the triple captaining Haaland in game week 20 as well. He has Sheffield United at home and Brentford, so that there are good double game weeks to take as well. But yeah, that's where I probably do. But there are a lot of single game weeks which could outscore double game weeks as well. But yeah, I'd still just not I'd still not be too tempted to triple captain Haaland this week. Just put the captain on him. Use the triple captainship later.
I think fair enough. With this last question, and we'll wrap it up. I think I think if you're okay with the hit, Aditya, his move of Mitoma and the defender is better, because it still allows you to get Saka and Kita. I think it's irrespective of the move you make this game, so that's not a problem. And with your keepers, if they have tough fixtures, just take it on the chin. I don't think that really makes a lot of difference. Just keep playing the same keeper, you will stack up points. I don't think keeper decisions really make a huge difference to your overall rank. It could make it to the game week rank, but overall, I don't think it really matters that much. And with that note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you guys around the deadline. This is the FPL Tips team signing off. Cheers.
Cheers.